starting this one not wearing our weight vest, our 40-pound weight vest. Okay,
That's a good thing.
Okay, but we're going to go back to that. Okay, to that idea of what we talked about in the last podcast. Mm-hmm. But here I want to pick up in Joshua, the book of Joshua in the Old Testament. Okay, and the context here is that the nation of Israel has spent 40 years in the desert waiting for God to direct them into what he promised them in this place called the Promised Land. Okay? And one of the things that I think is instructive about those 40 years in terms of what I'm about ready to read is, and what we talked about last podcast, what we're talking about today, is one of the things that happened during those 40 years is he fed them every day with this thing called manna. Mm-hmm. Okay? And that manna had such a short shelf life. He told them, he said, don't store it up, don't put it in bottles, don't put it in jars, because it's going to rot. But you're going to have to trust me that tomorrow I'm going to provide it again. So he's confronting their scarcity. Is there going to be enough for me tomorrow? Do I need to store it up, save it up? Can I really trust that? Can I trust that God will provide for me tomorrow? Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's the context of 40 years of that. Mm-hmm. Okay, and when they tried to store it up, it just went bad. Okay, so now here's what happens in Joshua 3. They're getting ready to finally walk into this place called the Promised Land with Joshua as their leader. And Joshua says to the people, this is after 40 years wandering. He says, consecrate yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do wonders among you. Like, you know what? We're here. Mm-hmm. And then he says, and the Lord said to Joshua, just as I have been with Moses, I will be with you. Mm-hmm. So now Joshua's also going, not only here we go, but here I go. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable. Okay. And again, 40 years is a long time. Yeah. I mean, I'm 64. That's most of my life. Okay. So here we are in Joshua 4. It says, now it came about then when all the nation had finished crossing the Jordan, okay, into the Promised Land, that the Lord spoke to Joshua, saying, take for yourselves 12 men from the people, one man from each tribe, and command them, saying, I'm going to read all these 9 verses. Take up for yourselves 12 stones here out of the middle of the Jordan, from the place where the priest's feet are standing firm, and carry them over with you and lay them down in the lodging place where you will lodge tonight. So he tells them, pick up these stones out of the middle of the Jordan that you just crossed, 1 stone for each of the 12 tribes. Okay. And so Joshua called the 12 of men, and he had them appointed from the sons of Israel, one from each tribe. And Joshua said to them, cross again to the ark of the Lord, your God, in the middle of the Jordan, and each of you take up a stone on his shoulder. These are big stones, according to the number of the tribes of the sons of Israel. And here it is. And let this be a sign among you, so that when your children ask later, what do these stones mean to you? Then you shall say to them, because the waters of the Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. And when it crossed the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan were cut off, so that these stones shall become a memorial to the sons of Israel forever. And thus the sons of Israel did as Joshua commanded, and took up those 12 stones from the middle of the Jordan, just as the Lord spoke to Joshua, according to the number of the tribes of the sons of Israel, and they carried them over with them to the lodging place and put them down there. Verse 9, then Joshua set up 12 stones in the middle of the Jordan at that place where the feet of the priest had carried the ark of the covenant, where it was standing. And it says, and they are there to this day. Mm-hmm. Now I think about that. And so they spent 40 years learning not to hoard or store or keep anything, but that God's going to have to provide tomorrow. Now he's actually instructing them after this incredible moment of his delivering on a promise that they waited for impatiently and patiently, a lot impatiently, okay? And now he's saying, put something permanent there, a thing. This is what we're talking about, an object, okay? An object that you're not going to forget.
Yeah.
Okay? Take it from there in light of this, because there's a lot about what that means in terms of this object representation that we talked about last time, some of where we're going to go today about relationships. But I think there's a context of a balance here between that stuff is just stuff, but also stuff can mean stuff.
Yes. That's a lot of stuff. No, I love how you said that, Jeff. God, one of the probably millions of things that's remarkable to me about God in relation to us, human beings. Isaiah says he knows we're dust. You know that. But in knowing that we're dust, he knows that things mean something. Well, they clearly mean something to him too, because he told what you just read in Joshua 3 and 4. But it's so beautiful how just simple stones, God says, well, my hand is on them, and you are remembering how significant your life is to me and how significant I am to you. We're going to take something simple like rocks, and we're going to put them in a place here, and you will remember it, and it will be remembered forever. It's 2026, and we're reading about it still.
Yeah.
So I think it speaks to the deep love God has for humankind, among other things, that he would take simple things, knowing that we are in our bodies are matter, and that wordplay here, that we do matter. To him is like, I know that you need something to remind you not just of my faithfulness, yes, absolutely my faithfulness to you, but how you matter to me.
And that remembering is not just a rational remembering. We've said this all the time. It's even in terms of the way our brain is wired. We remember what we feel, and we have feelings about what we remember.
Yes.
So they're putting that pile of stones there, and there's a remembering of the last years of wandering, those that are still alive. A whole generation died off in the wilderness. Okay. But then there's the feeling in that moment, both for Joshua and for those people, to watch God do what he did.
Yes.
And I'm afraid. I'm unbelievably glad. I'm grieving the loss of the people that died on the way over that never got here. By the way, Moses didn't cross. Okay. Joshua's walking into this leadership position, that God's trying to say, look, I'm going to be with you like I was with Moses, which means, look, I know you're afraid, but just know this, you're not going to be alone. And I'm going to actually be with you like I was with Moses. You're going to be okay, Joshua. So he's even caring for Joshua in there.
Yes.
And all these feelings are happening. And now you got this pile of stones that when you look at that, you're going to remember because you had feelings about what I just did.
For sure.
And what I've been doing, which is where our memory's always tied to what we have feelings about.
Yes. There's an embedded part of what you're talking about, Jeff, in that whole text. Remember, if you go further back than what you read, there are lots of these little conversations that the writer talks about Joshua and Moses having. And so, yes, God is saying to Joshua, I'm going to be with you like I was with Moses. What he's also doing is a thing called brain synchrony with that. Joshua knows for sure, and the monument is part of that for the people to remember, and it is God attending to Joshua, God attending to his people, taking care of them. But if you go back and look at, wait a minute, part of the context of this whole scene are these conversations that Moses had with Joshua. And brain synchrony is our brains can get in sync with one another, and we get on the same wavelength with one another, right brain to right brain, limbic brain to limbic brain, feeling brain to feeling brain. And we take those relationships with us as we move forward. And so the beautiful part of this whole story that you're telling is absolutely things matter. Matter matters. God does know that we're humans and that matter matters to us. And there's also in the backdrop of this story, by the way, the word context is the Latin term textus. It just means an interweaving. And so interwoven into this story, the context of this story, is the relationship of Joshua stepping up into leadership and taking Moses with him, inside of him, as he steps off literally into that water and into the promised land. So that synchrony piece is a big thing in Scripture. Elijah handed the mantle to Elisha, for example.
Yeah.
Moses handing the mantle to Joshua. These men that walk forward after being under the mentorship of their mentors, they're taking those mentors with them, like you take me and I take you on weighted vest walks.
Bullseye. There's so many times when I'll be with a guy that I work with, and he's walking into a scary situation or a challenging meeting, or he's going to go home and do something really terrifying to engage with his spouse or a child that feels really vulnerable. And I will say to that guy, hey, text me before you go. Text me in the driveway. Just text me. Say I'm walking in the house. And I'll say, and you know, sometimes later that night, text me back.
Yes.
Synchrony.
Uh-huh.
Somehow, this is how we're made, but somehow that guy can be 800 miles away. And I went in that house with him.
For sure. Now this is neuroscientists, don't slap my wrist here. This is somewhat of a parabolic and maybe even hyperbolic. But in some ways, if there was a way to just isolate the right brain and the left brain was offline, like didn't work at all, and you said, we'll call this guy Joe, whatever. Yeah. Joe calls Jeff. He's 800 miles away in his driveway. And if you ask Joe's right brain, hey, Joe, did you have to go in there and have that hard conversation by yourself? His right brain would say, no, Jeff was with me. And the left brain screaming, going, no, he wasn't. He's way down in Tennessee. Yeah. But limbically speaking, in the same way, I have this imagination that you're sitting down with Joshua and going, man, Joshua, and it's just Joshua's right brain, just his limbic system. It's not his thinking brain present in the interview. Go, Joshua, what was it like to have to take leadership all by yourself like that? And Joshua would go, well, I didn't do it by myself. And you would say, oh, I know you had God with you. No, I had Moses with me. Are you kidding? I would never do that by myself.
Never do it by myself.
Moses did it with me. And we go, no, he was dead. And the right brain would go, I have no idea what you're talking about, because that relationship, Joshua took Moses with him everywhere he went.
Everywhere he went. God, a story just blew up in my brain. I remember, this is almost 30 years ago. See, I remember, this is almost 30 years ago, that I moved to a city where I knew one other person to start something from nothing. Mm-hmm. And I remember one of my mentors, Robert Lewis, came to town and was spending some time with me because he was really the mentor. He literally said this to me when I was going to move to Nashville to do this. He said, Jeff, you don't have to go alone. Mm-hmm. He goes, I'll be with you in it. He told me that.
Wow.
And I moved here, scared, spitless, 34, 35 years old, started something, had no money. I mean, it was crazy. Now, it was successful. It all worked out. But I'm just telling you, I was afraid. Mm-hmm. And I put all my chips were in the middle of the table. I'm walking over here with, at the time, 4 kids. My youngest was 2 weeks old when I moved over here in a U-Haul truck. I mean, it was crazy, okay? I always say, I think about Brenda sometimes. I go, she gave birth to a baby and was in a U-Haul truck 10 days later with that baby. Crazy. But anyway, we moved over here. Robert came over and visited me. And I can tell you where it's at in Brentwood. I can tell you the hotel. I can picture the awning we were standing underneath for the door to that hotel in Maryland Farms. And I remember Robert looking at me before he was getting ready to leave, because he was in Little Rock, which is just about 6 hours west of Nashville. And he looked at me, oh, man, he goes, Jeff, if you ever have moments where you're wondering if you're doing okay, how you're doing, I know it's just scary, you're trusting God with all this. Here's what he said to me. He said, word for word, if you will step outside and turn your ear to the west toward Little Rock, and if you listen really carefully, you're going to hear me cheering for you.
What a beautiful story.
And I'm just like, man, I needed that. Because even though I come over here with a partner to do it, a best friend, Robert was my Moses if I was Joshua.
Yeah.
And I needed to not be alone because I was doing something by faith, which implies there was risk, which means I was afraid, having to trust God that it was going to be okay for me and my young family and what I wanted to do and what I wanted to see God do. Okay. But that statement, I don't know how many times, I think I probably literally imagined myself turning west and listening to his voice.
And how amazing is it? That's 30 years ago. And where you live in your heart, right in now, your right brain, he's sitting right here.
Right here. And I'm standing, because that part of we always say this, because that part of the brain doesn't know time, doesn't know linear time. Mm-hmm. So it is as if it's just happening. And I'm feeling it now. And that's the power of synchrony, which, again, we started this thing talking about you and I wearing weight vests and connecting around that. But I go, what we're talking about, when we talk about brain science and our neurobiology and how we're wired, what I love about that is God's the one that designed us. Mm-hmm. I'll go back to this. He made us to work this way, which is why he also knows what we need to flourish, and why he also, I think, he does what he does in the book of Joshua, where he says, if you get ahead of yourself and you forget what you felt about what I did, you're going to forget me.
Yes.
If you forget what you felt when I did this, you're going to forget me. Mm-hmm. What you felt.
Yes.
Right now, what I just felt was an enormous amount of gratitude for an older man that believed in me. And I'm going to say this, still believes in me. Still believes in me. And I feel that right now.
For sure. And where we live relationally, how we're made, right now is what your we'll call it relational brain. It's what your relational brain is invested in and what it operates from. Uh-huh. That's Joshua says that about Moses, and Elisha says that about Elijah, and you say that about Robert and others. And there are several occasions that Paul says this, but in Colossians, Paul is affirming them, and he's like, hey, I'm absent from you bodily, but I am with you in spirit. Mm-hmm. What he's saying is he's located somewhere else. He's writing this epistle. He's in prison, and he's saying, you know what, but as I sit here writing this, I know that I'm with you, and you're definitely with me as I write this letter to you. So there's all these wordings, even scripturally and otherwise. You're remembering a hotel in Maryland Farms, or you turn your ear to the west, and Paul is writing to the Colossians and the other stories we've talked about. But the one thing those have in common is that when that is happening, the person is not alone relationally. Do you remember the little quirky movie? You and I watched this movie together, actually. It's called The Kid.
Oh, yeah. Bruce Willis.
Yeah. Where Bruce Willis's inner child literally comes back and spends time with him.
Yeah, to kind of parent him. Yeah.
There's this amazing scene where the boy goes back and faces schoolyard bullies. And the Bruce Willis character is standing outside the fence. He's not inside the playground. He's outside the fence. And the little boy says, I can go do this because today you're with me. That's a perfect little picture of what we're talking about. Yeah. Synchrony just simply means when I have you in my heart relationally, I take you with me.
Yeah. And it's what's made right about me because it's what I was made for. And we say this, that human flourishing is absolutely dependent upon relational connection and attachment, which is why we talk so much about feelings.
That's right.
I mean, I don't like having all these feelings all the time, but it's the awareness of them that actually allows me, even right there, I go, it's the awareness of them that actually lets me to connect and attach. There's some things I have in my office. We talked about this in the last podcast. Not everything I have in my office are like yeehaw memories. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now there's one that's straight across from where I sit. It's an old, gosh, this thing's probably 50 years old, but it's pristine. But it's about this big, but it's a Texaco truck, and it belonged to my brother Jack. Now my brother Jack was 11 years older than me, 9 years older than me. He was 9 years older than me. And in a fatherless home, I had two older brothers that were like dads to me. Mm-hmm. Okay, my brother Jack died of cancer early. He was 64 years old when he died. So he's been gone for a bit. I look at that truck, and it's eye level, straight on where I sit because of what he meant to me.
Yes.
And above that is a picture of my childhood home that not every memory in there is like glad, okay? But there's something really meaningful to me about even having what we call negative emotions. They're not negative at all.
Yeah.
But I have things that I see that are like the equivalent of those stones that also, man, that was a lot of hurt there, or there's a lot of sadness there. And yet somehow I feel connected to myself, and even there's a sense of relational attachment around having any kind of feeling that way when I see those things.
Yes.
And I guess it's important, I think it's important to distinguish some of this because I feel really sad for somebody, and there are people like this, that they grew up in such a relational wasteland that there's nothing physical even that does matter to them because it's all just desert.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's one of the reasons that I was somewhat recently in a home, and it was beautiful. It's not around here. It was out of state. Beautiful home. And I was with I was actually hosting a tiny little small group of people, just as a little weekend thing. And we were in this home, and I made the comment like, man, it was kind of a more modern look and sleek and minimalist. And I haven't thought of this in those years, but we're talking about this, Jeff.
Minimalist.
Minimalist. Nothing, and it kind of had some chrome thing. And so I made the comment like, man, this is like a really clean thing. And one of the people, they were all men, one of the men sitting there said, yeah, it just feels a little cold.
Sterile.
And what he was talking about was, back to context, cold can be, wow, it's cold in here, like freezing temperature. Cold can be, gosh, I don't feel very good. I think I have a cold.
Yeah.
Cold can also mean it just doesn't feel attachable, relational, and warm, engaging, invitational. It was super clean. You probably could have eaten off the floor, and it's a beautiful place in a giant room, and it just felt lonely in that room because there wasn't anything in it that meant anything.
So it's not the thing that matters. It's the memory attached to the thing, and that memory is going to be somehow connected to a relationship. Mm-hmm. So it's important for me when I swing to the sort of the collector side that things can matter more than they matter. And some of that's my scarcity. It's so funny. I've got T-shirts that are 30 years old, and Brenda will say, "Why do you never wear that?" She'll say, "Why do you never wear that?" And I go, "'Cause it's my favorite shirt."
Right.
Yeah, because I grew up if you wear it out, you don't get another one.
Yes.
So if it's my favorite, I'm not going to wear it. Uh-huh. Okay. So I've kind of had to learn how to go wear my favorite shirt, and it's okay if it wears out because I can get another one. Maybe that's just where I came from. So I err way to that side, and so growth for me is going to be looking at something, having a feeling, and being able to let go of the thing.
Yes.
And knowing that it's not the thing, and then when I get rid of the thing, I don't lose the memory. The other side of it is some of us, I think, probably need to know that it's okay. It's okay to enjoy the connection that happens around a place, because a place is a thing. Mm-hmm. And that place is going to be around memories, not all of them wonderful.
That's right.
That actually help you to stay kind of connected to yourself and connected to God, and even connected somehow to those people there.
That's right. And, we could do 10 more hours on this thing, but what we're talking about, it kind of start bringing to an end. Yeah. All the channels that go into this: memory, grief, joy, celebration, meaning, iconic meaning, my cheap little tacky picture in my office of the Smokies, Jack's Texaco truck, all these things we're talking about. Why are we talking about this? What's the big deal about this? It's that things matter. Things matter to us. We matter to God. And he knows that we are dust, and he has created something. He has created us to be attaching creatures, and we attach to nouns. We attach to people, places, and things.
Yeah.
And so the importance of this is, if you're listening, watching, either or on this, start paying attention to how much life matters and how much stuff matters because of the life that's in the stuff.
Because of the life. Because the lie is that I can attach to a thing.
That's right.
and things are unattached. You can't attach to a thing.
Yeah.
But to be curious about what's behind the thing, which is going to be some kind of relationship.
Which allows you to either keep it and
Yeah.
continue looking at it, or give it away, throw it away, whatever word you want to use for that, and you keep the memories of it. That's the reason we're talking about.
My application, this would be heaven for Brenda. This would be her ideal. A gift to her is if I went home and said, "Hey, I will spend a day. We're going to take that, like my home office or even part of the garage, and we're going to pull everything out and decide to put back in what I really want to keep." Okay. Now that, if I told her that, that'd be better than, "Hey, let's go to the beach." That would be heaven for her. Would be like me being willing to like declutter some things. Mm-hmm. For me, I have to be in an emotional space to be able to say that I can have feelings about letting go of some of those things. Mm-hmm. And actually, there'll be some freedom in the lack of clutter.
Yeah.
Not sterile, not cold,
mm-hmm.
but like just enough that I get to keep some things. I'm thinking of my home office right now, a couple things that, like, I got my dad was a detective. I've got his handcuffs. Mm-hmm. And I go, and that's a bitter story to me.
That's
but I'm
very
keeping those handcuffs.
There, Jeff.
We can go there. But I just go, there's some things I'm going to keep.
Yeah.
And there's some things that I think I get to have feelings about and let go of.
Yeah. So we're recording this on a Friday, and so if you're going to spend the weekend, and when this thing will drop,
tomorrow.
But if you're thinking about decluttering or hanging on to things, if you're shaming yourself, if you're listening and you're shaming yourself, oh, it's just a thing. It's not just a thing. So you may want to archive it because it means something relationally to you, or you may want to give it away or throw it away because it means something to you, but what it means to your memories and feelings of a relationship that you need to declutter your life. So a little thought experiment for people to go with.
And then I'd say, and don't shame yourself when that thing that you got that you thought was going to make you okay and mm-hmm. that you were going to connect to and it was going to feel like you kind of got what you wanted, mm-hmm. when that wears off pretty fast.
Yeah.
Because it's just a thing.
Yes. So with just a thing, be sure this weekend, whenever you're decluttering or archiving, having feelings about both.
And I'm still, every time I take that walk in my neighborhood now, you're never going to be able to be erased from this. Even if you stop walking with your weight vest, I won't put mine on and I won't not connect to you. And I want to add one more thing before we get off on this. Because I watched this happen, and you and I do some groups together where we work with guys, and we meet once a week for an hour and a half, hour, mm-hmm. 15 minutes. But several of those groups, we have a text string with those guys. Mm-hmm. And I would say we're watching this synchrony happen, mm-hmm. where even through that kind of connecting, I'm watching guys we say it's the ninth feeling, mm-hmm. but less alone. Mm-hmm. And there's just that touch point that I would just say, we're made for it.
Yes.
And I'd say this, can't live without it.
Yes.
We can't live well without it. We can live without it. We just can't live well without it. So
amen. Practice it unashamedly.
All right, man. Love you.
Thanks again for joining us on Return to Heart. To access resources mentioned on this program or to find out more about Tin Man Ministries, please go to tinman.org.